Hey KidZone, welcome back. We've been spending some time trying to answer the question, who does God say I am? Today, we're going to discover that we have a purpose. In the Bible, we'll find out about a queen who found her purpose. Queens and kings normally live in great big palaces. What would you like best about living in a palace? Pause the video and talk about it with someone around you. When I think about living in a palace, I think of all the yummy food I could eat. I would have a personal chef that would cook anything I want. We don't have to live in a palace to have a purpose. We have a purpose. But for Esther, we'll see how living in a palace was an important part of God's specific purpose for her. We're going to dig into the Bible to find out more, but first, let's pray. So take your right hand and your left hand, smack them together, and let's talk to God. Dear God, we've been having so much fun learning about who you say we are. Today, we're going to learn that we have a purpose. So God, I pray that everyone at home can learn what their purpose is that you've given them. We're so excited to learn about our purpose and about Esther's purpose today. In your precious and holy name, amen. Now, I'm going to ask all my friends to stand up so we can sing some songs together.
Come on, clap your hands. Here we go. That's it. Yeah, we're all in this together and we're having fun. We're here to spread the love of God to everyone. Gonna get a little crazy, yeah, a little wild. Here we go now, come give it a try. Move it to the left now. Move it to the right.
Great singing! Today we're learning about how we have a purpose. So let's dig deeper into what having a purpose means. We're going to watch a video where we learn about the purpose of different antique tools. Let's check it out!
Welcome to the Totally Kid Show, the show where we explore God's amazing world. From alpacas to bass guitars, we're gonna check it out.
Today we're going to find out the purpose of some old tools that we found in the workshop. Believe it or not, most of these tools are over 100 years old.
And our friend Bob is a tool expert, and he's gonna help us out.
Bob?
Bob?
Where's Bob?
Bob!
Bob!
Oh, sorry kids. I got a little lost back there. What are we looking at today?
We found this in the workshop. What is it?
Well,
I bet it's a handle of some sort. What do you think? Talk to a friend and guess what the purpose of this tool is. Time's up. Let's see if you're right. Bob, can you tell us what this tool does?
Sure. Well, before there was electricity, nobody used electric drills. So you would put a bit in this, tighten it up, and then you would hold it in place, and then you would drill something.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of work. I'm glad we have electric drills now.
Yeah, electric drills are a lot easier, but before electricity, tools like this served an important purpose. Gunnar, will you grab that board over there? I'll show you how it works.
Yeah.
Put that right there on the table.
Okay.
Yeah. And you just hold this in place and turn. Cool, right?
Yeah. What's this one?
Oh,
Bet you it's some sort of dentist tool. What's your guess? What's the purpose of this one? Time's up. Bob, what is the purpose of this one?
well, this tool is used to melt metal, like iron. So you'd put the iron in this part and hold it over a flame until the metal melted. Then you would pour it into a mold. This pointy end is used to smooth out the metal and scrape off any excess.
But this is made out of metal. Wouldn't it melt too?
That's a good question, Gunnar. This tool is made of a harder metal, so it won't melt.
Wow, that's pretty neat.
Oh, I know. I bet you this was a comb for someone who only had 3 hairs.
Not exactly.
You've got 20 seconds. Guess the purpose. Time's up. And the answer is a bug killer.
Not quite. This is called a saw rest. Bethany, can you grab that saw over there? If you look at a saw, it has all these pointy things on it. Those are called teeth. The saw rest is used to make sure that those teeth are pointed in the right direction so you can cut through wood easily.
Wow, that sounds like an important purpose. So without this saw rest, your saw could get too dull to keep cutting.
That's right, this tool may not look like much, but it's very important to keep the saw in the right shape.
Okay. Don't tell me. This is a grabber thingy. Like if the tissue box is a little out of reach?
Nope, nice try. Maybe you want to let your audience give it a try?
Sounds good. Go for it. here?
Sure. This is called a micrometer. It's kind of like a ruler. It's used to measure tiny things. So what you do is you place what you want to measure inside, so stick your finger in there. And it tells you how many micrometers that is.
What's a micrometer?
That's a good question. Well, a meter is about 3 feet, and a micrometer is 1/1,000,000th of a meter.
1/1,000,000th? Why would anyone want to measure that?
Well, when you're working on very small projects, you want to make sure that you have very accurate measurements. Well, I've got one more tool here. Can you guys guess what this one is?
Is it a hammer of some sort?
No, I think it's a pin.
Well, nice try, but you're both wrong. Let's see if your audience can guess what it is.
What is it?
This is a screwdriver.
A screwdriver?
Yes. And not only does it have a screwdriver head, it also has a saw blade and also a really tiny wrench.
So this tool has a lot of purposes.
It really does.
Well, I learned about tools I didn't even know existed. Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome.
Join us next time on the Totally Kids Show. Who knows where we'll be next?
Bye!
Bye!
It's so interesting to see the purpose of those tools. When you were trying to guess what that purpose was, it was pretty difficult, right? Sometimes when we don't know what the purpose of something is, we think it's useless. Well, in our Bible story today, Esther didn't think she had a purpose. But once she figured out what it was, she realized how important her role was.
We are going to be reading from the Bible today, so make sure you have one nearby. We'll be reading from the book of Esther. You see, Esther's purpose was so important that she had a whole book written about her story. We're going to look at the first purpose God had for Queen Esther. I'll tell you what happened. Esther's cousin Mordecai, can you say Mordecai? Used to sit outside the palace, and one day he heard an important message. So he sent a message to Queen Esther. The message was that someone wants to hurt the king. That's not good news. Good thing Esther got the message from Mordecai. That helped keep the king safe. God used both Esther and Mordecai to save the king. We each have a purpose, and God had an important purpose for both Esther and her cousin Mordecai.
However, that wasn't the only trouble during that time. Mordecai heard another message. He just had to get to Esther. The next message was that God's people were in danger. More bad news. But Mordecai also knew that God had a purpose for Esther to be the one to save God's people. Let's open our Bibles to Esther chapter 4, verses 12 to 14. Esther's words were reported to Mordecai. Then he sent back an answer. He said, "You live in the king's palace. But don't think that just because you are there, you will be the only Jew who will escape. What if you don't say anything at this time? Then help for the Jews will come from another place, but you and your family will die. Who knows, it's possible that you became queen for a time just like this." Esther had to be careful because the man who wanted to hurt God's people was friends with the king. This man called Haman. Can you say Haman? Even convinced the king it was a good idea to hurt God's people. Haman told the king God's people were bad, and the king believed it. But remember, the king didn't know that his queen was one of God's people. Esther had to work quickly.
So, Esther decided she would ask the king for help, but she knew she had to be careful about asking. She first asked the king if they could have a special dinner together with their friends. And at the dinner, the king asked Esther, "What do you need, Esther? I will do it for you." Esther asked for Haman, the man who wanted to hurt God's people, to come to dinner. And then she invited both the king and Haman for a second dinner.
At the second dinner, Esther told the king, "Someone wants to hurt me and all God's people." The king was very upset and asked who wanted to hurt them. When Esther told the king it was his friend Haman who was sitting at the table, the king sent Haman away from the castle and never to return and punished him. So Esther and all God's people were safe and they threw a huge party.
God used Esther for a purpose, and we have a purpose. God's purpose for us can be small or big. It also might change. We might have a purpose now, but a different purpose when we're teenagers or adults. God has a plan to use us in all kinds of ways. Let's think of ways so that we can have a purpose. Pause the video and talk about what your purpose could be right now. Maybe you bring smiles to the faces in your family if you help water flowers, feed a pet, or help with cooking. Or maybe you can encourage other people at school and help them when they're confused about homework. Maybe your purpose is to show God's love to other people on your baseball team. Remember that God has a purpose for you right now. We have a purpose, just like Esther did. This week, let's look for ways God can use us to do good things. See you next time, friends.